Hey, honeys.
Yo, yo, yo. It's the Who,
Where,
Their podcast.
Well, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, you can just call us the Travel Brats.
First name Travel.
Last name Brat.
So, what's on the itinerary today? Hello.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, beautiful people. Oh my gosh, did I just say that?
Oh my gosh.
I'm doing it, Ashley. All right, everybody. Hey. It is Travel Brat Tuesday, and we hope you guys are having an awesome start to your weeks. We have exciting news because Miss Ashley Babor went to, tried to connect with her Spanish roots, which she has none.
I don't have any, guys.
She went to the lovely U.S. territory of Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, it was so nice to start traveling again and to be doing all that stuff, kind of doing what we had envisioned with Travel Brats, like traveling and then talking about our experiences. Soon in the very near future, Sophia and I will be traveling together and then writing and sharing about all of it.
She's got a nice little handsome boyfriend, but don't you forget about your travel sister. All right, we've been traveling since we were single together.
I know,
and
right?
our travel brats know that. If they've listened to our first and second episodes where we joke about being single on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, what a good time to be alive. He's my little Instagram boyfriend. You're still my little Instagram little girlfriend.
That's right.
Take all my nice pictures.
And you're number 2.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, so we are super hyped because Ashley is going to be telling us all about Puerto Rico. And Ashley, I want you to begin the story of your lovely getaway weekend with John by telling us exactly where you went and how you got there.
Perfect. Yeah. So, like I said, we went to Puerto Rico. John and I are super busy professionals doing our business and doing our thing. So we didn't really plan that much. I remember us talking about a month before we went, okay, we're going to go to Puerto Rico this weekend. We're going to take this time off and we're going to do it. So I booked a flight there. Okay.
I love how we're travel brats and we don't plan. Even though we plan your trips, we don't plan ours.
Literally. So I booked the flight there and said, okay, we're just figuring it out. We're going. And then we had some credit from Spirit. So
shout out to Spirit. Wait, are we liking Spirit again? Spirit, I remember hating you last time. Oh my gosh.
We had some credit because we had to cancel a flight back in December. So we were like, okay, we'll work on getting our flights returning with those credits.
That's a plus.
Some time passed and we really were not booking it. We were so busy. Anyways, we booked the Airbnb that we wanted from the very beginning. But the first night there, we were taking a very late flight from Miami on Wednesday night. Ooh. We were getting in, it was going to be like 11:30. And so we're like, okay, we can't stay there until Thursday. So let's go and get just a cheap place kind of by the airport. And then we'll go to our Airbnb the next day and it'll be easy peasy. Gotcha. Oh my gosh, that's where the story began. Definitely before you book your places, definitely check out the reviews and the recommendations because our Airbnb was amazing. We stayed in Old San Juan, which I would recommend to everybody, and I'll definitely link where we stayed because
Old San Juan.
Yeah, everybody should stay there. It kind of gives you that like old historic city vibe where you can be walking to everything. When we did go, there was a curfew and there was different mandates, but
for COVID.
Yeah, but we still made the most of it. But it was a really good choice for us to stay in Old San Juan. But the first night we went to this place, Coral by the Sea. D recommendation all the way.
D recommendation to Coral by the Sea.
I've never left such a bad review. Like, this is me being so honest. We got there. They gave us the keys. It was kind of a little bit sketchy. We just thought we were in for an adventure. We get the key to our room. And I was like, oh, that's weird. The light's already on in the room. We unlocked the door and people were in there already sleeping, unpacked everything. What? Me and John were like, oh my gosh, like this is now after traveling all like afternoon. We left work at like 2 p.m. We had a 4 p.m. flight, whatever.
What?
We
so
got
what
there.
Happened? Did they give you the wrong room key? Or
so
did they give
that's
them,
what I thought. I thought that they gave me the wrong room key. So John and I really weren't freaking out yet. We closed the door really, really quick. We rushed back down and I'm thinking, okay, they just gave us the wrong room. That's a really bad mistake. How dangerous. Like, I would hate if somebody walked in on me.
Yeah.
Anyways, we get down there and we tell the guy that somebody's already in the room. They're unpacked. Like, they're literally living in that room. And he goes, no. Like, there's nobody in there, all this stuff. He all of a sudden calls the security guard to go up there. And then all of a sudden this big buff security guard comes out of nowhere, goes up there, and then comes back down and says, okay, you guys are going to be staying in a different room, and hands us another room key. What? At that point, John and I had... Now, let us tell you, it is midnight. It's probably about 12:30, and we're exhausted. We're like, oh my gosh, we just need to figure out a place to stay.
Yeah.
So we're like, we're not doing this. Like, we figured out, we called another place and we finally got through to them. We're like, do you have space? Like, can we get a room tonight? And they're like, yeah, come here. We have a room for you. And so we start trying to call an Uber. All the Ubers in every business and all the roads have to be shut down by midnight. There was a 10 p.m. curfew, but like a hard close at midnight where police were patrolling the streets. So John and I are running through the streets to get to another hotel.
You're kidding me.
This other hotel, I'm like, hey, do you have any room? Blah, blah, blah. They didn't. So we were like, okay, well, like, do you know anybody to like call a taxi? Because there's room at another hotel. So finally the guy's like, yeah, I know somebody, they can be here in 5 minutes. But we're like, oh my gosh, if we freaking like, this is the first time we're traveling in like a year. If like we get in this taxi, like if we don't feel comfortable, like we're just gonna walk, or I don't know what we were thinking, but we put all of our faith into this front desk guy who got us a taxi. So then we ended up going.
That level of trust with the Puerto Ricans, eh?
Yeah. We went then on like a 10-minute ride, and the lady was so nice. She didn't speak any English, but she got us from point A to point B, and took us to Isla Verde, which ended up being a really nice place.
Shout out to Isla Verde.
Yeah, and then Trip by Wyndham is where we ended up staying. The front desk guy, he definitely calmed me down. I was not freaking out because when you're traveling, you have to stay calm and you have to kind of...
That honestly sounds like a nightmare.
It was crazy.
And guys, like, that's a really good point, is especially now when you're traveling, especially to foreign countries, especially while there's still COVID, and a lot of these foreign countries aren't as fortunate as us and don't have a bunch of vaccines right now.
Yeah.
You need to pay attention to the curfews because you could get in trouble. Like, I can totally see a little blondie sitting in a Puerto Rican jail for the night for breaking curfew.
Oh my gosh, guys, it was absolutely nuts, but we ended up getting to the place. When we got checked into the hotel too, and so John and I are going to be going to Europe hopefully within the next year, and so we're like, okay, let's become backpackers. Like, we want to be able to have all of our stuff on our back. I have not learned how to pack light, so as we are running through the streets, I am carrying a backpack that probably weighs as much as I do.
I cannot.
It was crazy. So we ended up getting there. It was now like almost 2 o'clock in the morning. We get into our room. I have never deadbolted a door so fast in my life. I never felt really unsafe, but it was the whole concept. I couldn't imagine somebody having a key to my room and walking in on me. I was just like,
that is so scary.
Oh.
That's so scary.
And then like the hospitality aspect, but everywhere I went from that, I had the best hospitality. But definitely read the reviews, because John and I were just like, oh, this is just like a cheap, close place. We're going to be getting in late. Like, let's just go here. And then our Airbnb was super amazing. So we're like, okay, this will be a nice little balance. Not the move, guys.
That's funny that sometimes trips start like that. You know, I feel like all my trips that have started out pretty much the worst have ended the best.
Yeah.
But like I feel like especially with hotels, it happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like hotels and taxi stuff, a lot of times they'll mess things up, and so you just and guys, we couldn't trust even more, especially with COVID. Things are just different now. So make sure you plan a little more than Ashley, but not too much, because it's so fun to be spontaneous. And I think that's a big part of why you guys did it like that, you know? Is you like to kind of be like, okay, what are we doing today? But maybe not with hotels.
Yeah, like, so, but that brings up a good point, because with COVID and stuff, there were a lot of different restrictions, so everything seemed to be booked up. I felt like we waited a really long time for Ubers, getting rental cars, hotels were extremely booked, and every single type of excursion that you could possibly do booked up so quick. So if I could have any advice, so say you pick where you're going and you have a couple weeks in advance or a month, definitely start booking your excursions. It's not always awesome to have a whole itinerary of what you're doing, but if there's key things, like I'm going to recommend, that you really want to do, book it ahead, make the plans around it, and make it happen. But I would also say spend a little bit more time in PR. We stayed about 4 full days, and that was the best choice that we made. It was a really good amount of time. We had fun.
That's long enough.
Yeah, we got to venture around. We got to kind of see the city life. We got to venture out into the other parts of the island too, because these islands are actually, they're not humongous, but there's so many different dynamics of it.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, my mom got married in Isabela to my stepdad, which is on the far side, on the west side of the island, and then where Old San Juan is on the far east side. So there's definitely just a lot of different things going on. I wouldn't say that PR is necessarily like a cheap trip, but it also wasn't overly expensive. Like I would say between like John and I, we spent somewhere between like $1,200 to $1,500 between the two of us.
Right.
But
that's
like
so solid though.
Yeah,
that's great price. I mean,
I thought so too, between where we were staying and the flights, and then we spent a good amount of money going out. Like we had some nicer meals, but like it also wasn't crazy.
No, and I feel like especially you kind of forget that Puerto Rico is still related to the United States. Like it's not obviously going to be as expensive as Hawaii. Hawaii's a state, but like it's still territory. So like things are going to be way more expensive than like if you went to like the DR.
Well,
like
buying
Cuba.
Sunscreen was super expensive too. And so just those little things.
It's like the sunscreen, the canned foods, and the grocery stores. And if it's not like, if it's imported, it's going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
True.
But that's a good point. It's like there's a lot of cheaper islands, but Puerto Rico is so unique and so fun. I mean, I've been there once. It was for a tennis tournament, but I remember, and I had a horror story for a hotel too. Oh my
gosh.
Let me tell you, like we literally, this is quick, but we had checked in. It was late at one night again. We are moving tournaments because we'd flown from the Dominican Republic for a week. Then we went to Puerto Rico for a week. So we get there late at night. We each have a roommate, and we get to this room, and the bottom of the doors are kind of open, and on an island, that is the last freaking thing you want, because you also are facing the outside, like Florida. Like you have your doors facing the outside, and there's no like you go into the hotel and up and down. No, so bugs like all night long just crawled under the doors. There were like lizards in the room, spiders, cockroaches, and the air didn't work, the air conditioning, and the showers were freezing cold.
Oh, so, I was used to the cold showers.
Girl, I was not used to cold showers. So I'm glad that it was like sweltering hot in the day and we were playing tennis and sweating our butts off, or else I would not want a cold shower. But you know, you can either get more into the natural aspect of the island, or you can stay in a more luxury hotel. You guys know better than that.
Yeah, you have options. You always have options, and you can change it last minute, just like I did.
I definitely don't think they have a Langham place in Puerto Rico.
No, I don't think so either. But so going into that, depending on where you're traveling to, every time I travel, whether it's within the States, domestically or internationally, I'm always asking locals where to go, where are the best places, and that's kind of what we've created.
That's
the
what
Travel Brats.
Brats.
That's about. Like
we
we're
like
asking
local travel.
So, a big thing with that, so you don't always have to go out of your way or maybe sit by somebody at the bar or whatever you're doing, especially with COVID, having our servers or bartenders that we were having, we'd always ask them. And we had this really, really good one who was our server, and, he actually was all about giving me advice. He literally took my phone and started typing into the notes because there was a little bit of a language barrier, and I didn't know how to spell some of the stuff that he was saying. So his Instagram was actually Good Living PR. So it was super cool. So he was all about the travel aspect, and he was giving me big ones that are highly regarded, like the bioluminescent bay in the Toro Verde zip lining. So those were two really big ones that we didn't get a chance to do, but I would recommend them to other people. And so he was just really awesome, and he wrote down a bunch of different restaurants, but I'll get into that in a minute. But like I said, we stayed in Old San Juan, which honestly, if you travel anything like I do, that was the place to go, because you could stay there, wake up, you could go walk around, have delicious coffee. I was going to say cafe con leche is my new favorite thing. I just really started liking that. You can just go walk around. I've had some of my best food here. And then you don't really have to go very far. You could go to different distilleries. Then you can also go to historical sites. So I recommended searching landmarks within your Google Maps or within your Apple
Around
Maps.
me.
Yeah. And
Around me.
it was amazing. There's so many things that might go unnoticed or just one street beyond you. And if I learned anything about Old San Juan, it's that everything is literally in walking distance there.
Yeah.
And there's so much to do. And it's right on the water also.
Okay, so did you fly in Old San Juan?
So we actually flew into San Juan.
Okay,
Which
San Juan, and then you drove to
yeah.
you taxied or okay, but you Ubered, taxied.
Oh yeah, so they have Uber, they do all that. There's
Okay,
taxis
cool.
and stuff too, and there's also a lot of different rental cars. Like I said,
Cool.
a lot of them booked up, but John and I did end up renting a rental car to go explore on the island a little bit more, which I recommend doing definitely for a day or two.
Where'd you guys rent
from? It was called like Sixt, SIXT. It was just the only thing that was available. And so we made it happen, but they were super convenient. They also have different shuttles that take you to and from the airport,
cool.
which I highly recommend. So let me get into the best places to eat though while we're on the subject.
I'm sorry, I don't like that. Can you skip it?
My favorite meal while I was there was the Princesa Cocina. So like the Princess Kitchen, I would take it. It was absolutely delicious. John actually got rabbit, which was crazy,
way.
and I tried rabbit for the first time. I would give it like 5 out of 10. I probably wouldn't get it myself.
It's like a acquired taste.
Yeah, it didn't really do much for me, but I tried it and I was happy. And then I also had a recommendation for monfongos, which are mashed plantains like into a ball, and they were really, really good. I mean, by the end of my trip, I was monfongos out. I was
Such
done.
a funny name. Like when you binge eat way too much of something and then you never want to see it again, and then a week later you're like, I want it.
Well, and then another thing, so a place that we really wanted to go was called the Bar China restaurant, but it was always had a 2-hour wait. So it had the most reviews I've ever seen, and it just was always busy. So we really wanted to eat there. We tried twice. Out of our 4 nights, we tried twice. And we ended up going to the place across the street from Bar China, called Cafe El Punto, and it ended up being absolutely amazing. It was like this little hidden place where you kind of were like, hey, are you guys open? And then you go through this like alleyway, and then there's a huge like restaurant behind it.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was all sit down and everything. And I got this chicken dish that had half of an avocado at the bottom, and it was just like, that was like its bowl or whatever, and it was amazing.
Those little hole-in-the-wall places, though, I mean, we can't say it enough. They literally never let you down.
Never. Oh my gosh, and then John got ceviche, which he loved,
good.
and I didn't know that I liked it, but like I was having like multiple ones, and
Look
then
at you!
plantain chips and stuff, so all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, the plantain chips are my favorite. That's like such a cute little like Latin American thing where they'll like literally even make like bags of plantain potato chips.
Oh yeah.
Like
they
instead of potato
do.
chips, they eat the little plantain chips in a bag. Anyway,
Absolutely.
They have fresh ones too.
So, but then a good place to get some drinks and to even like watch sunset. I couldn't fully see sunset from there with John, but it was called T1 Old San Juan, and it's right by this place called like this landmark called Capilla del Cristo, and it has thousands of pigeons in that corner.
Really?
So we sit down at this restaurant and whatnot, and it's like this cute little place that it's mostly just a bar and then a bunch of outside seating on this patio. Then you look over the edge and you can see the water, and you can kind of start to see sunset off to the right.
Yeah.
And it was super cool. So we went and got really strong drinks there. They were great. But then we look off to the right and we see like thousands of pigeons, and like people are letting the pigeons crawl on them. John and I were like, this is nuts. Apparently like it's a really big landmark and people take pictures there all the time. So if you're there, definitely check it out.
Interesting.
That was not something I would personally do, but it was also right by the Flag Street, or I'll have to remember what it is. I posted a picture on my Instagram, but apparently there's these like flags, or Umbrella Street is what it's called.
Oh yeah,
Umbrella
where it's got all the umbrellas above you and all the cool artsy,
and they
cute
change
artsy
them
shapes.
out, and I made a little caption about how the server was saying that it was supposed to be purple for Women's Month, but it was actually ended up, the guys messed up and made it pink, thinking to represent women.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I was just
breast
like,
cancer awareness month?
I was like, such a guy thing to do. So that
hilarious.
was, then the other thing that I would recommend is, I love popsicles and all that kind of stuff. And they have a popsicle, like, stand type thing, or well, they're definitely stores. They almost are like ice cream shops, and you go in and it's like these flat fudgicle type popsicles, and then you can put a bunch of stuff on them. And the one that we went to was called Senor Paleta. I probably am butchering that, but it was excellent, and especially when you're drinking and you're on your walk home, that was the move.
Popsicles are the move.
That was really the move. But okay. So a lot of people know that I also went to El Yunque, the National Rainforest, which was amazing.
You guys get to do some hiking?
Yeah, like you would love this, Sophia. Like this was right up your alley. I was thinking that when I was going.
Now I want to go to Puerto Rico.
But yeah, it was definitely a really crazy experience. John and I knew we wanted to go there the whole time, but like I said, we didn't really plan well enough. So this is my way of telling you, please plan.
Please plan, people. You know that. You know how to do that.
Yeah.
You listen to the Travel Brats. That's how you plan. Okay. But, okay, so did you guys, like, just go venture by yourself here? Or did you get a tour guide for that, or what?
So basically what we did, we were like, okay, we want to get a rental car. So we got a rental car that morning. We like hurried up, got an Uber. We got to our rental car place at like 6 in the morning. And then we drove and met up with a tour guide. So we were looking on different places like Airbnb Experiences, TripAdvisor, Viator, which was a new one I had never really heard of. And that's actually what we booked through. So we found one that was like, local guide takes you through the rainforest. So we're like, okay, let's do it. They had 2 spots available. Ended up being an amazing time. I don't think that we would have had the experience that we did without him. He like took us through these places that like he really knew where to step and where to pull, because it could have been pretty dangerous, but you like trek through water. John jumped off of like a 40-foot cliff.
That's so fun.
It was amazing. So,
okay, Travel Brats, if you like adventure.
Yeah, shout out to Carlos, our tour guide. His company was Best Tours Puerto Rico. You could definitely check out their Facebook or Instagram. We'll definitely link it. But and I also have a video with him telling you a little bit about the island.
Yeah, guys, we'll be sharing that on our social media, so get ready.
Yeah, that was probably... John and I always like to reflect after our trips, and we said what was our favorite experience. And
best and worst.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
El Yunque was definitely the best. It was something that I think everyone should put on their bucket list. But the tour guide also took us a place to park that I don't think most people know about. There's also a... like almost like a lighthouse type thing. That's not the right term, but it's like a tower that you could go drive to, and that could be a thing, and other people did recommend doing that, but then that kind of foregoes the hiking aspect. It's more of like driving your car to a spot, climbing up the tower, looking out, wow, this is pretty, and then
I did it. Yeah, I did it. Bye-bye. Yeah, guys, the hiking is like the experience. Travel Brats, go get fit.
We were so dirty. We were covered in mud. John was wearing a white shirt. That's silly man.
So like, you know, Ashley, give us a little bit of your expertise. What did you wear for this hiking expedition? You know, what did you bring?
Well, I definitely would recommend bringing water and bringing like a little backpack that's a little bit more compact that you can actually strap in the front of you. Definitely worth it, because John and I brought one backpack between the two of us, and we'd kind of switch off, and we also had extra stuff in there that we could change into.
That's smart, because if you're like wearing a swimsuit for the water and stuff, it's not fun hiking around in a wet swimsuit. And this may be TMI, girls, but if you're wearing a wet swimsuit for hiking all the time, it can give you UTI.
Yeah,
so
and you don't
should not want to run around in wet clothes. You know, they also give you like rashes and make you chafe and stuff. So bring a swimsuit in the backpack or wear it, and then when you get it wet, you can change and stuff like that. That's just smart hiking people rules.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in like the rainforest and stuff. And what else do you guys bring?
Well, I would definitely say, because John and I didn't bring like a waterproof protector, and I wish I would have.
Yeah.
Because we were taking pictures and doing videos sometimes, but then not that you need to have your phone out the whole time. John and I kept our phone away most of the time, but when we did pull it out, I wish we would have had a protector on that, just because like people are all climbing, you're with other people, and it's just kind of a little bit safer. We didn't drop our phone or anything, but that
makes sense.
That was definitely a big thing. But to kind of wrap it up, there were some things that we didn't get to do, but one of my favorite experiences was actually, my honorable mention for the our little podcast episode today is the Bacardi factory. We didn't get to go.
What?
So, okay, hear me out, guys. So John and I, we were like, let's go to the Bacardi factory today. We woke up, had breakfast. We're like, okay, let's do it. How do we get there? We need to go on a ferry. So we went and started just asking locals, where do we get the ferry? So finally, they just pointed us in the right direction. We literally walked onto this ferry. We never bought tickets. Like, this guy's like, oh, do you have tickets? And we're like, no. He's like, okay, just buy 2 on your way back, because like we must have missed the ticket office or whatever. So we really didn't know where we were going, because
So you guys got on a boat in the middle of nowhere.
We got on a random ferry boat, but it seemed like the right place. It was right by
You sound like Karen in Mean Girls when she's outside and she's touching her boob and she's like, I think it's a 99% chance of rain and it's like thunderstorming on her head. I think it was the right thing to do.
I think it was.
I love it.
It was by where the cruise ports are, so you can't really miss that. It's a pretty busy area. Yeah, so we get on this ferry and it takes us over to the to another part of the island. If you look at the map, you're literally just going straight across this like inner channel type thing. So we get over to the other side and we're like, okay, how do we get to the Bacardi factory? Oh, on this bus. I said, okay, well, where's the bus driver? Where's the bus driver? And the guy's like, oh, she's on a break. She'll be back in an hour and a half. We're like, what do you mean an hour and a half? The Bacardi factory is like 5 miles away or something like that. So we couldn't really walk because there really weren't sidewalks to get there the whole way. So we're like, are there Ubers? Like over here, this is definitely a much smaller town, definitely not a city at all. So John and I are like, okay, well, let's call an Uber. We call an Uber. It's a 30-minute wait. But we're like, okay, well, that's better than waiting an hour and a half. So let's just go to the bar that's right down the street. So we see it, and the one bar looks very commercialized. I'm like, no, let's keep going. We're going to venture down, blah, 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 a little bit more. We find a place that's literally just like a little garage with a bunch of alcohol just showing and nobody there. But I like walk up and I'm like, could I have a vodka lemonade? And they're like, no lemonade. I said, do you have Sprite? And so they made me a vodka Sprite, which is never the move, guys. It's never mixed with Sprite.
Give a recommendation to the brand Sprite. I think it tastes like poo.
I love you, but not when you're mixed with alcohol.
Okay, Ashley likes it.
So we're like, okay, we're doing that. So we finally get our Uber 30 minutes later, and we go to the Bacardi factory. And they're like, sorry, we're booked out to the end of May. I was like, there's nothing that you can do? Like, we just waited 30 minutes for an Uber.
I didn't realize the Bacardi factory is that popular.
Yeah, well, I think that they were letting less people in because of COVID, and people were having to book
6 feet distance.
So if you do want to go there, definitely book ahead, like I'm saying. So basically,
definitely plan your trips.
Now we are in a guy's car, the Uber, who does not speak any English. John and I don't speak Spanish, and we're like, we need to go back.
I love this. I'm loving this way too much.
Finally, we rolled down the window to ask the guy who's like the guard for the Bacardi factory. Like, we didn't even get to see the Bacardi factory because they had a guard stand that would let you in and out. So we're
Gringos!
We need to go back to like where the boat picks up and stuff. And so he like shows us how to do it on Uber and like a second location drop and whatever. So we go back and we get on that ferry and we take our happy butts home.
So, Ashley, instead of a where can we find you at the end of this episode, because everyone knows where you are, we're going to have Ashley teach all the travel brats how to make a reservation for the Bacardi factory.
You literally, you go to their website. Well, here's the thing, guys. I went on their website and I was trying to book like a tour and all that stuff. And they're like, oh, full. And I just thought that just meant like we can't do a tour, but we could still walk around.
Guys,
so but I was wrong.
Also noted, when something says booked, it's booked. And so when something says full, it's probably full. Because, did it say it in Spanish? Is that why you said
that?
No, I was kidding.
But the thing was, I said to the guard, I said, like, so there's, like, nothing that we could do to get in? Like, nothing? Like, you mean, like, you're booked? Like, I remember just, like...
Take your top off! Just kidding. Don't do that, guys. That was a joke.
But then to wrap up this whole trip, John and I, then that next night, our last night, we ended up returning our rental car, and they took us on a shuttle back over to the airport, and we actually spent the night at the airport. Like, not in the terminal, guys.
So then you were homeless.
There was a hotel there, And so it was a very small hotel, but we were like, this is perfect. We have an early flight. If we're already there, then we just can walk down and go to our flight. It was the coolest thing. I do recommend it. It was definitely smaller rooms and a little bit louder because you can hear the planes once it starts in the morning. But I mean, John and I were up and it was so convenient, and then we didn't have to worry about returning the rental car. And so 10 out of 10 recommend. That experience was so fun.
I'm like waiting for you to tell me that when you were staying in that hotel, these people walked in on you with a key. Because I'm like waiting for what goes around comes around. I'm like waiting for you to end with that. And then it was the same people. And then you realized you were in a dream. And then I kept repeating. Just kidding.
Full circle, guys.
Full circle, guys. So I guess that sounds like a really fun trip, Ashley. And I think some of our lessons learned were that you need to pack your swimsuits and your water when you go hiking. You need to make sure that you make reservations for super popular tourist items. And then you probably need to, I know that
read the reviews.
You guys didn't get read the reviews, and maybe check where you're going when you get on a random boat on an island. Even though they ended up in the correct place. Guys, don't try that at home. Ashley just got lucky there.
I know. I always do. I mean, I've always made it in one piece. Let's all be very thankful. Be aware of your surroundings. I did feel obviously very safe there. We walked around anywhere, and we walked through all the forts. I really didn't get to mention that, but the forts are amazing. Like I said, any of the landmarks that you go, it's just very historic. Colorful buildings. The whole vibe is so friendly, so helpful, and even with like COVID and stuff and people wearing their masks, people are still really genuine with one another and helpful.
And that's another tip, the curfew. Pay attention to the curfews. And guys, I think this was a cool trip, Ashley. I'm really glad that you shared it with us. I'm really glad that you took the time to, journal while you were there. And we just want to thank you guys for listening. And next time you go to Puerto Rico, please check out our blog. Please check out our links and make it a short but sweet trip, just like Ash did.
Yes. Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have any more questions, definitely reach out to us. And we can't wait to record some more in the future. Love you guys.